The sky above the wasteland flickered with electric bruises, rifts of purple lightning lashing out from the wounded atmosphere. Sierra lay motionless, half buried in a dune of ash and synthetic dust, the wreckage of her transport groaning quietly around her. Her blood, silver and luminous, had slowed to a crawl. The shimmering veins under her skin pulsed weakly. The long ears that marked her Lasari heritage twitched once, involuntarily, then stilled. She let her eyes close. The war had moved on without her. Betrayal, ambush, fire from above. She remembered it in fragments, like broken glass scattered in her mind. The diplomatic crest, once displayed proudly on her armor, had been scorched off. Her last memory had been of the clouds splitting, the heat of an orbital strike hammering down, and then silence. The silence didn't last. Something clunked nearby, heavy boots on twisted metal, slow and deliberate. Sierra's pulse stuttered. She didn't open her eyes. Maybe it was a scavenger drone, maybe another soldier. Maybe death just wore combat boots now. "Okay," a voice muttered. "Either that's a dead alien or someone took cosplay way too seriously." She opened one eye. The man looming over her had a scruffy beard, battle-scarred armor painted in chipped earth military colors, and a plasma rifle slung across his back like an afterthought. He was crouching beside her now, poking at her shoulder with the barrel of a sidearm. "Still alive? Blink twice if you're not planning to vaporize me." Sierra tried to speak, but her throat was dry as desiccated bone. She coughed once, a pathetic wheeze that made her lungs feel like they'd been scrubbed with sandpaper. The man tilted his head. "Yeah, that's about what I expected. You bleeding out or just leaking glow juice for fun?" He dropped into a squat and reached for a canister on his belt, muttering as he worked. "Why do I always find the weird ones? Can't just get rescued by a boring Terran medic. No, gotta be me, picking up mysterious, pointy-eared space women in war zones." She tried to lift her arm, failed. Her head rolled slightly, just enough to glare at him through one half-lidded eye. He paused, eyebrows lifting. "Oh, sass. That's a good sign. You're definitely not dead." Then he pressed a pressure patch to her side, and pain seared through her like a bolt of raw plasma. She flinched and gasped, ears twitching violently. "Yeah, sorry, no anesthetic. Supply drops are mostly ammo and protein bars these days." He looked apologetic, but only barely. "If it helps, I once patched up my sergeant with duct tape and chewing gum. You're getting the deluxe package." The hiss of a stim injector whispered into her neck. Her body jolted, muscles tensed. The world flared around her, color and sound returning all at once. Loud, bright, too much. "Easy, easy. You're safe. Or well, as safe as you can be in the middle of a planetary dumpster fire." She looked at him again, this time more clearly. He had kind eyes beneath the grime, and there was something in the way he hovered, alert but gentle, that didn't match the armor or the weapons. "Jason Thorne," he said, "Private First Class, Earth Coalition Marines, Adamwall, also mildly allergic to space wasps." Her voice finally scraped out. "Sierra, Envoy, Lasari Alliance." "Yeah, I figured you weren't from around here." The ears gave it away. She blinked slowly. "They are. Normal," he snorted. "If normal means elegant audio receivers from a fantasy holodrama, then sure, you're practically textbook." Sierra tried to sit up. A mistake. Pain screamed down her side again, and she bit down on it, teeth clenched. Jason reached to steady her, one hand careful on her shoulder. "Whoa, don't push it. You've lost a lot of blood. Or whatever you guys run on. Is that stuff flammable? Please tell me it's not flammable." She stared at him, then at his arm, then managed a whisper. "Why are you helping me?" He shrugged. "Because the last time I walked past someone bleeding to death, I had nightmares for a year. Because I'm not a total bastard. And because your ship exploded, and you look like someone who deserves better than a dirt nap in a crater." A pause. "And also because I've got a bet running with my AI on how many war crimes I can commit before the brass notices I'm missing." Sierra blinked. He grinned. "Kidding. Mostly." The ground rumbled distantly, an aftershock or maybe a patrol skiff passing overhead. Jason tensed and looked up, scanning the smoky sky. We've got to move. That medical buzzard you called in didn't exactly land quietly. I didn't call anyone. Then whoever hit your ship knew where to aim, which means they might come back to check if you're still crispy. Sierra shivered. They wanted me dead. Yeah, well, joke's on them. I'm too stubborn to let you die. He slid an arm under her knees and another behind her back. Wait, she rasped. What are you? Carrying you? You weigh less than a fusion coil. And I once carried a drunken commander up a mountain, so don't argue. She didn't have the strength to argue anyway. Her head lolled against his shoulder, breath ragged, but the stim was working. The pain faded to background noise. He started walking, boots crunching over wreckage. His AI whispered something in his ear, probably logistics or coordinates, or an unhelpful reminder that rescuing alien diplomats was a career-ending move. Jason ignored it. You know, he muttered as they descended a dune, I always figured if I got court-martialed, it'd be for stealing a dropship or punching a general, not for alien princess rescue duty. I'm not a princess, she murmured. Uh-huh. And I'm not a guy hauling a half-conscious space elf through a minefield. Oh, wait. Despite herself, Sierra's lips twitched, just slightly. Jason grinned. See? You smile, we survive. That's how it works. They vanished into the ash storm, two silhouettes framed by distant lightning, one stubborn human, one half-dead Lasari envoy, and the long road between them and anything resembling safety. A low hum filled the med pod, the kind of mechanical whine that whispered, I'm held together by hope and 3 zip ties. Sierra lay strapped to a surgical slab, retrofitted into something vaguely resembling a medical bed. Her eyes flicked open just in time to see a ceiling panel detach, float downward, and clatter onto the floor beside her. Okay, Jason called from somewhere under the console. If that was the coolant valve, we might have a slight oxygen problem. If it was the stabilizer plate, we might have an extreme exploding in space problem. Either way, don't breathe too deeply for the next 5 minutes. Sierra groaned. Is this a medical facility or a garbage hauler with ambition? Jason's head popped up from behind the nav array, smeared with grease, hair sticking out like he'd wrestled a plasma leak. It's called improvisational combat triage. I prefer to think of it as field medicine with flair. You sedated me with something that smelled like fermented soil. Lichen tonic, grows in caves on Varelian moons. Excellent for Lasari nervous systems and for polishing engine components. Multifunctional. Sierra tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Her ribs throbbed in protest. Jason appeared at her side in an instant, pressing gently on her shoulder. Whoa there, Space Bard. You're still a bit scrambled. Your blood pressure spiked last night, and the pod started playing the Imperial Funeral Dirge on loop. Took me an hour to shut it off. Her brow furrowed. Did you just call me Space Bard? Well, you hummed in your sleep. Whole melody. Kinda haunting, actually. Made the lights flicker. I figure you're either a singer or a portable ghost. Sierra closed her eyes. You're absurd. And yet here I am, absurdly saving your life. She opened one eye. I should thank you. You could, Jason said, nodding seriously. Or you could promise not to stab me with that bone scalpel you keep hiding under your pillow. Sierra's expression didn't change, but her hand inched away from the pillow just slightly. Jason held up a finger. See? That's progress. The med pod shuddered. A hollow clang echoed through the cabin. Not to alarm you, Jason added, checking a flickering monitor, but someone just knocked on the hull, politely, with a rocket launcher. Her eyes widened. You said we were hidden. I also said I had a good hiding spot, not a perfect one. He jogged to the control panel. They must have followed the wreck trail. We've got maybe 3 minutes before this becomes a very warm crater. Sierra swung her legs over the edge of the bed. I can fight. You can barely sit upright without vibrating. I vibrate with purpose. Jason sighed, grabbed his rifle, and handed her a spherical object the size of a peach. Fine. You can fight with this. What is it? Emergency smoke bomb, also an egg cooker. I call it a scrambler. You build your weapons, multifunctional. You ever fought off pirates while making breakfast? Then don't knock it. He pulled her arm over his shoulder and helped her up. They staggered to the hatch, the pod still trembling beneath them. Jason paused long enough to kick a loose wire bundle into place, causing a panel to spark back to life and the rear thruster to spin up. Automatic escape protocol, he explained. If this thing senses a hull breach, it'll launch itself 50 meters straight up and hopefully not explode. Sierra blinked. Hopefully. Jason gave her a grin. We live on the edge here. The hatch creaked open, and they emerged into the dim twilight of a crater valley, metal shards glinting like broken glass under the stars. Jason scanned the rocks ahead, then nudged Sierra behind an old survey drone husk. A pulse of red light shot overhead and exploded against the cliff wall, spraying gravel. Jason ducked, swearing. Friendly bunch, probably scav hunters, might have picked up your Lasari tag from the wreckage. Rare genetic materials all the rage these days, especially from species with fancy ears. Sierra growled softly. We're not currency. No, but your DNA could buy someone a small moon in the outer rim. So yeah, we run now. He hit the scrambler and tossed it into the air. It beeped twice, then exploded in a puff of dense, glittering smoke. Why does it sparkle? She asked, coughing. Intimidation. Everyone's more scared of enemies with glitter. They ran, Jason half dragging, Sierra limping beside him, the smoke swirling like a disco malfunction. Lasers sizzled past them, one grazing Jason's arm. He hissed but didn't stop. A roar behind them. Something larger descended, a skimmer, repulsor lifts whining. Spotlights pinned them, and a voice crackled through a megaphone. Surrender the Lasari and we'll let you live. Jason glanced back, then yelled, Do you take bribes? I've got one perfectly good toaster and a jar of Martian pickles. The response was another plasma bolt. They ducked behind a jagged ore pillar. Sierra grabbed his wrist. Let me use my empathic field. I can short their perception for 10 seconds. That sounds incredibly useful, and also like something that will kill you. She didn't answer, just pressed her palm to the ground. Her ears lit faintly, like twin antennae drawing energy from the earth. A wave of static rolled out, and the skimmer's lights blinked wildly. The turret swiveled aimlessly. Jason's jaw dropped. Okay, that was hot. I'm going to pass out now. Please don't. She collapsed. Jason caught her and slung her into his arms again, breath ragged. He sprinted. The escape thruster fired behind them, launching the medpod into the air just as the skimmer regained control. The distraction bought them seconds, enough for Jason to dive behind a broken bulkhead, shielding Sierra with his body. The explosion rocked the valley. Smoke engulfed everything. When the dust settled, the scav hunters were retreating, coughing, their systems scrambled by the glitter cloud and lingering Lasari pulse. Jason lay on his back, coughing. Sierra sprawled beside him, unconscious again. Well, he rasped, that went great. The AI chirped in his earpiece. Medical warning, subject's vitals unstable. Recommend evacuation. No kidding. He pulled Sierra close and stared up at the cracked sky. We need a better plan, he muttered, and a ship that doesn't sound like it's dying of rust. He glanced down at her peaceful face. Or maybe just a break. The stars offered no answer, but neither did they look away. The skiff was stolen. Jason didn't feel great about that. Then again, the original owner had been a particularly rude bounty hunter who tried to sell them to a mercenary syndicate in exchange for something called a quantum yacht and a lifetime supply of skin rejuvenation nanites. Jason considered that fair grounds for grand theft. The skiff, named Zippy in faded paint on its carbon hull, was about the size of a food truck and sounded like it had severe digestive problems. But it flew, mostly, and it had a working cloak system, which was more than he could say for most Earth Coalition cruisers. Sierra sat in the co-pilot seat, wrapped in a thermal blanket with an expression that suggested she was still considering whether or not to stab Jason in his sleep. Again. I'm just saying, Jason said as he adjusted the course, if we can hotwire a navigational grid and dodge 3 hunter drones in a scrapyard skiff, we're officially a team. Sierra raised an eyebrow. We're a hostage and a fugitive. Team Hostage Fugitive. Has a ring to it. I've heard better team names from dying diplomats. Dying diplomats rarely name things. They mostly groan a lot and bleed dramatically. Sierra leaned back, ears twitching. My people use silence to honor moments of near death. Jason nodded solemnly. My people use sarcasm and inappropriate jokes. It's a healing ritual. The skiff jerked as it entered the gravity well of Theron 6's outer moon. Jason slapped the console lightly. Don't die on me, Zippy. Not while she's judging me. Sierra tilted her head. Are you speaking to the ship? Encouragement is essential to spaceflight. Ships can feel fear. That would explain yours. He grinned. She's feisty. I like it. Their destination loomed ahead, a derelict refueling station built into a floating rock field, half abandoned and long since scavenged. Jason had stayed there once while impersonating a fuel inspector. That night ended with a fistfight, 2 illegal toasters, and a very confused bartender. He figured it was safe enough for a temporary pit stop. As they docked, Sierra stood, slowly, stiffly, and eyed the station through the viewport. Is that rust? Technically, it's oxidized steel plating and regret. They entered the station cautiously. The lights flickered like they were trying to recall how illumination worked. A vending bot slumped in a corner, beeping in a sad loop about expired nutrient paste. Jason led them through a broken security gate and into what had once been a pilot's lounge. It now resembled a junkyard with snacks. Sierra scanned the room, then frowned. This doesn't look secure. It's not. That's the point. Nobody comes here because it's an obvious trap. Therefore, it's the perfect hiding place. That logic is circular and effective. Like most of my logic. She sighed and dropped into a half-functional chair that whined in protest. Jason scavenged behind the bar, emerging with a dusty bottle labeled Red Nebula Blend. Do not ingest while piloting. Drinks? He offered. I have 13 stab wounds, a ruptured spleen, and psychic fatigue. Exactly, you need hydration. He poured the liquid into 2 cracked mugs. It fizzed and glowed faintly. Sierra sniffed it. Is it supposed to shimmer like plasma discharge? Jason raised his cup. To not dying. They drank. She gagged. It tastes like metal anxiety. That's the nebula. He took another sip and winced. And the anxiety. They sat in silence for a moment, broken only by a distant explosion and a robotic voice announcing, oxygen level nominal, hope questionable. Jason leaned back. I know you don't trust me yet, which is fair. I wouldn't trust me either, especially after what I did with those nanodrones on Galleon 5. Sierra glanced over. Do I want to know? Probably not. She folded her arms. So, what now? We keep running until your ship falls apart? Until we get to someone who can help you, and not the kind of help that involves vivisection. She hesitated, then looked at him. You risked everything. You don't even know me. I know you didn't deserve to be left in a crater to rot. That's not the same as knowing someone. Jason looked away. I know that you sing in your sleep. I know that you mutter in 3 languages when you're annoyed. I know that you hate protein bars but pretend not to, and you hum before you start using tech like you're tuning a memory. Sierra blinked. Jason rubbed the back of his neck. I know it's not enough, but I'm trying. She said nothing for a long time. Then, the song, it's called Araval in my tongue. It means the thread that returns. It's sung at rebirth ceremonies. He nodded quietly. It suits you. She turned away, trying and failing to hide the flicker in her expression. Suddenly, the comm crackled. Jason lunged for it. The voice that answered was clipped, mechanical, and deeply unpleasant. Private Thorne, you've made quite a mess. Jason's stomach dropped. Commander Reeve. Wow, you still have reception out here? I figured you'd be too busy kissing Admiral Boots. You are in possession of classified genetic material and an enemy envoy. She has a name. So do coffins. Jason's knuckles whitened on the comm. We're not handing her over. Then you're both enemies of the coalition. You have 1 hour to surrender. The line cut. Jason looked at Sierra. Good news, they know where we are. Bad news, they still have better insults than I do. She stood, fire in her eyes. Then let's make their visit memorable. He grinned. Knew I liked you. Alarms began to hum in the walls, slow rising tones. Jason grabbed his rifle. Team hostage fugitive, Back in action. Sierra raised her hand. Her ears flared with light. Let's make them regret knocking. The first shot hit the outer plating, and half the lounge ceiling fell in with a defeated sigh. Jason rolled across the floor with a shout of, "Well, that's not ideal," as sparks rained down like someone had set off a 4th of July celebration in a scrapyard. Sierra was already moving, her stride quick, steady, cloak flaring behind her, like she wasn't half held together by synth stitches in spite. Her ears pulsed with light as she raised both hands, drawing on the air like an artist preparing her canvas. Jason ducked behind a vending unit that read, "NutriPaste, like food, but sadder." He cracked it open and pulled out a bent laser cutter and what might have once been a sandwich. He looked at the sandwich. "You think this is still edible?" Sierra didn't look up. "It's glowing. Could be radiation or cheese." "It's definitely not cheese." He tossed it aside. "Shame." Another blast rocked the station, and a scorch mark painted itself across the floor inches from Sierra's boots. Jason peeked over the countertop. "Okay, we've got maybe 2 squads, plasma rifles, and a drone with an attitude problem. You got any more of that space magic nonsense?" She gave him a look. "It's not magic, it's harmonic biofield disruption. That's what I call sneezing with purpose." Sierra knelt and touched the floor. Her voice shifted into the Lasari tongue, a string of tonal syllables that seemed to echo backward. The air shimmered. Every rusted bolt in a 3-meter radius vibrated like it was trying to join a choir. Jason blinked. "You gonna explode them, or just give them really weird tinnitus?" The first soldier crashed through the broken door and promptly dropped his weapon, clutching his helmet. Jason jumped up, fired once, and shouted, "Tinnitus it is!" They sprinted toward the maintenance shaft, Jason pausing only to flip a switch on the station's ancient defense grid. Sierra looked back. "Will that hold them?" "Probably not, but it'll set off the fire suppression system, and the fire suppression system uses foam. Lots of foam." They heard the hiss seconds later, followed by confused shouting and something that sounded suspiciously like someone yelling, "Why is it sticky?" Jason grinned as they climbed into the shaft. Science wins again. They crawled through the narrow tunnel, ventilation fans groaning as they passed. Sierra's expression was tight, but she didn't complain. Jason, on the other hand, muttered every 20 seconds. "Smells like burnt socks. Did something die in here?" "Probably your dignity." "Joke's on you. That died years ago on Io." They emerged into a forgotten service room filled with crates stamped property of the Independent Miners Union. If found, don't ask. Jason opened one. Inside were demolition charges and 2 novelty mugs that read, "I blew up a moon, and all I got was this cup." Sierra picked one up, studied it, then slid it into her cloak without a word. Jason chuckled. "A souvenir? Nice." Footsteps pounded above them. The enemy was spreading out. Jason set 3 charges along the door and muttered to himself, "Okay, so we're going to jump through an airlock, dodge vacuum exposure, land on the lower deck, steal a ship we're not cleared to fly, and escape a kill squad while making witty comments. Just another Tuesday." Sierra touched his shoulder. "Wait." He froze. "Please don't tell me you have a better plan. I'm emotionally committed to this one." "Number just..." She hesitated. "Thank you." Jason blinked. "What for? The illegal explosives or the sparkling personality?" "For not giving up." He opened his mouth, closed it, then shrugged. "You're welcome. Also, if this works, remind me to teach you how to fly drunk. It's a human tradition." She smiled faintly. "Your people have very strange traditions." "Wait till you meet our sports." The charges blew, the door blasted open, and Jason leapt through the smoke with Sierra behind him. Alarms blared. A warning hologram popped up mid-air. "Unauthorized detonation detected. Please remain still while you are terminated." Jason shouted over the klaxons. "You know, I hate when the station starts making death threats. It's rude." They raced across the concourse, dodging incoming fire and confused maintenance bots. Jason tackled one out of the way and shouted, "Not today, Roomba of Doom." A squad of coalition troopers rounded the corner. Sierra raised both hands. The lights flickered and burst. Gravity surged, reversed, then snapped back. The troopers hit the floor like dropped groceries. Jason stared. Okay, that one was definitely space magic. Biofield feedback. They had neural implants. Easy to overload. I'm gonna start calling you Princess EMP. She didn't protest. They reached Dock 7, where a squat, ugly ship was charging its core drive. Jason slapped the override, opened the hatch, and ushered her in. Sierra hesitated at the ramp. This looks dangerous. Jason beamed. Good instincts. Let's go. They lifted off just as the station exploded behind them. Well, a small explosion, more of a dramatic exhale. Still enough to dissuade pursuit for a minute or two. Jason slammed the throttle. The stars spun. Sierra collapsed into the co-pilot seat, breathless. Where now? There's a Lasari enclave in the ether belt. If we can reach it, maybe they'll help. She glanced at him. They don't usually take kindly to outsiders. I'm very charming. They might shoot you on sight. Then I'll die fabulously. She laughed, just once. Jason looked over. See? Team hostage fugitive. Unstoppable. The stars blurred around them as the jump drive spun up. Somewhere behind, the coalition recalculated, but for now they were alive. And moving. The ship jolted out of the jump like a hiccup in the cosmos. Jason gripped the console with both hands, muttering something about never trusting antique warp coils from planets named after fruit. Sparks sizzled above their heads. The main nav panel rebooted with a distinctly passive-aggressive chime. Sierra leaned forward, ears glowing with low pulses. That sound wasn't reassuring. Jason tapped the display. That's just the ship saying it hates me. It does that a lot. Still flies, though. Mostly. They were in the ether belt now, uncharted space full of drifting ice arches, abandoned satellites, and, if the rumors were true, 3 rogue planet stations filled with smugglers who specialized in morally questionable kitchenware. Ahead, nestled within a cocoon of deflector fields and cloaking beacons, floated the Lasari enclave. It shimmered like a nebula trapped in a bottle. Sierra stared through the viewport, breathing slowly. Jason looked over. You sure about this? Last time we met your people, I got mistaken for a mercenary, insulted in poetic verse, and offered in trade for a very angry starfish. Sierra smiled faintly. I'll speak for you this time. Thanks. I'd prefer not to be legally adopted by a sentient mollusk again. 2 escort crafts met them, sleek and silent. Sierra sent an encrypted signal. The ships hesitated, then formed an escort path. Jason watched the enclave grow larger. Okay, if this goes bad, Plan B is faking our deaths and living under new identities. You'd look great with a mustache. Sierra didn't answer. Her eyes were fixed on the stars ahead. Jason reached out, almost touched her hand, then pulled back. They landed on a translucent docking platform. The Lasari emerged in formation, tall, elegant, armor etched with glowing glyphs. At the center stood a woman with silver hair and eyes that shimmered like mirrored glass. Sierra stepped forward. Mother, Jason blinked. That's your... Okay, I didn't see that one coming. The Lasari matriarch approached. Her gaze moved to Jason, lingering on the scorched armor and the rifle strapped to his back. This is the human? Jason raised a hand. Hi, Jason Thorne. Not currently wanted for anything in this star system. There was silence. Then the matriarch spoke. He smells like ration paste. Accurate, Jason said. You try running from death squads with actual hygiene. Sierra placed herself slightly between them. He saved my life. Twice. Possibly 3 times, if we count the glitter bomb. Definitely count the glitter bomb, Jason muttered. The matriarch regarded her daughter. You risked everything to come here. I risked everything the moment I was left to die. Her voice didn't waver. The coalition wants the genetic imprint encoded in me. The same imprint you ordered embedded in all envoys. The matriarch's jaw tightened. It was meant to ensure peace, balance. They weaponized it, Jason added, and tried to turn her into a living thumb drive. Not cool. The matriarch's shoulders lowered. Then we must purge it. Sierra shook her head. Number I scanned the matrix. It's not just code. It's history, memory, ours and theirs. This imprint proves we share ancestry. The Lasari and humans are connected. Jason looked from one to the other. Wait, like cousins? Distant alien cousins? That explains the ears. The matriarch's lips twitched. It explains why the coalition wants her silenced. Unity would destroy their control. Jason turned to Sierra. So what now? You go diplomatic, start peace talks, and I open a snack cart on one of the moons? I want you with me. Jason blinked. You do? You're absurd and stubborn, and you once stitched me up with a hairpin and duct tape. I trust you. Well, Jason said, rubbing his neck, that's wildly irresponsible, but I'm in. 2 days later, Jason stood in a grand council hall, flanked by shimmering panels and dozens of Lasari elders, who all looked like they disapproved of his boots. He tugged at the collar of his borrowed robe, which was both itchy and slightly luminous. Sierra addressed the assembly. She spoke of the past, of betrayal, of survival, of Jason. Some murmured, some frowned, one fell asleep. Jason tried not to take it personally. When it was over, the council voted. The Enclave would reveal the genetic link, expose the coalition's manipulation, and offer a treaty. Jason expected resistance. Instead, there was applause. Slow, cautious, but real. Outside in the starlight garden, Jason found Sierra standing alone. He walked over, hands in his pockets. So, you're a galactic hero now. I had help. He grinned. You sure did. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the stars. Sierra turned. You never did answer. If we survive this, what do you want? Jason considered. A ship that doesn't talk back, real food, fewer lasers, and maybe a chance to figure out what this is. Sierra tilted her head. This? Us. The thing where we fight, joke, nearly die, and maybe save the galaxy a little. Her eyes softened. We could try. Jason smiled. Try's a good start. Behind them, the stars spun quietly. Somewhere across systems and histories, old wounds began to close. And two people, once strangers, now something far more complicated, walked back toward a future they never planned, but finally chose, together.